right. Welcome, everyone, to the Mimosios podcast, a place where we learn to see God through intention, not perfection. Okay, I'm your hostess, Christelle, and if you're a returning listener, thank you so much for coming back. If this is your first time, I just want to thank you for giving this podcast a chance and allowing me to be part of your day today. So yeah, let's just go ahead and get started. So today we're going to be talking about the importance of keeping your eyes set on God instead of other people whenever you're first starting out on your journey to exploring what it's like to walk with God. And I've been really motivated to do this podcast because it's something that I've been observing a lot lately, especially on social media, where I see a lot of popular Christian, I guess you could say influencers, or I don't know, yeah, I guess influencers is what you would call them. And obviously, it's so exciting, and I'm so happy that they're making their mission to spread the word and do that, which is obviously something that I'm trying to do as well. But I will say that sometimes I listen to it and it really makes me upset, honestly, because I think that something that as Christian people we forget. And I say we now because I've caught myself doing that a little while ago and I had to check myself. And this is truly what also motivated this episode. But I think that whenever you get to a point where you say, okay, you're comfortable going to church, you are comfortable talking about God, you are in front of strangers or in people that you don't even know because that's just how confident you are in it. You are happily talking about things that you read about in the Bible and your connection with God and all of those things, right? Whenever you get to that point where you start to see clarity, which you will, that's the whole goal. After a while, you continue to improve and improve. And the best way to describe the feeling, I would say, is it's just a healthy feeling. And in the midst of wanting to share with everyone, because I think that's what everyone ends up doing. You feel so good and you feel so this sort of peace that you want everyone else to feel it as well. You want everyone to know what that's like. But we also learn to see what is bad, right? Like you start to see why you did the things that you were doing if you were in a place where you were having all these bad habits and doing, I guess you could say, sinful things, right? And you start to learn and see not just that they're sinful, but you start to see, okay, this is why, because it was hurting me at the end of the day. But but and it's a big but. I think that once you get to that point where you're starting to see all of that and understand that, the approach of spreading the gospel in a way, of spreading the love that you have for God and encouraging others to do it, comes off in a way of like, why are you doing that? Like, why are you wasting your time going to the club? Why are you not going to church? Why are you not doing this? Why are you not doing that? Why are you not doing this and that and that? And it's like, how annoying is that? Truly, I find that so annoying. So annoying. Because here's the thing. For example, and it's all about perspective, right? If you are perfect and if you think you're perfect, then honestly, that's I feel I feel really bad for a person like that because you're not perfect. And it doesn't matter how great of Christians we are, we have to remember that we're not perfect and we're not going to be perfect. We're human beings. And we've all made mistakes. We've all made done things that we were not supposed to do, right? According to the Bible, according to what's considered sinful. Like we've all been there, even if it's not extremes, even if it's just something of feeling jealousy or like speaking negatively about your neighbor or anything like that. We've all done something that is not seen as good, right? We've all made mistakes. So I think that when you forget to take that into consideration, where you're trying to tell someone, like, hey, you should give God a chance. It's amazing. I don't think that the way of going on about it is just shaming someone into reminding them what they're doing wrong. And it's incredibly frustrating because we've all done things that were wrong. And I don't know about you, but for me, if someone tells me like what I'm doing wrong, what I need to be doing, like my guard just goes up immediately. And I also get to a point where I'm like, first of all, who do you think you are telling me what I need to be doing? Okay. That's something I'm working on separately. But um but yeah, that is going to be the topic of this episode. And I really want to compare it to real life scenarios, because I think that when we lack empathy in that sense, we're not really doing anything. Nor is that encouraging or pushing anyone to do what the right thing is to do, which is obviously to get closer to God, but you have to maintain that level of understanding and humility. And when you take that away, I think that it really is just pointless. So, yeah, let's just talk about it. Yeah. So just to keep going on that, improving in general is never easy. And that applies to anything. And also in my path now, where I'm at in my journey, I'm starting to realize that all these concepts, they truly just apply to life itself as well, outside of Christianity. Like if you think about it. Um, by the way, I made notes this time, and it's really embarrassing because I can barely read what it says. Like it's astonishing to me how bad my handwriting is. Like you would think that, oh my gosh, that's a pretty girl. She must have such pretty handwriting. No, no, it's chicken scratch. Literally. Let me show you. Like I'm gonna do my best, but just be patient with me because it was really good when I wrote it down. Okay, let me see. Hold on. I did read over it. So, sorry, I got a bit sidetracked there. But for example, when you talk about praying, technically, it's a very simple concept. You just put your hands together, you close your eyes, and you pray, right? Going to church, also simple concept. You get in your car, you drive to a building, and you walk through those doors. That's all you have to do, right? Praising on its own is literally just lifting your hands, closing your eyes, putting some Christian music in the background, and just feeling it in your soul and spirit. Um, but let's relate that to real life. For example, going to the gym. It's a very simple thing to do. You literally, again, what do? You get in your car, you drive to a building, you walk through the door, and you start lifting stuff, right? Or you start running, which, what is running? Putting one foot in front of the other. That's how simple it is, right? Okay. Um, what else did I write down? Eating healthy, having a good diet. Very simple. Just don't eat trash. Very simple. Eat what God gave to us growing on the trees, and you'll be fine. What else? I put down breaking an addiction. It's very simple to break an addiction. Guess what you have to do? Just stop doing what you're doing. Just stop doing the thing you're addicted to. Um, it's like reading. How easy is it to read? You open up a book and you literally look at a page. You look at a page and you use your brain to read. All of those things are incredibly simple if you really break it down that way. I can make anything that is going to be that requires a lot of discipline, make it seem like it's so incredibly easy, so incredibly simple, because I guess if you think about it, it really is simple. It is that simple. But it's not easy. It is not easy to do all of those things. That's why people are so hardcore about teaching discipline, about all these people are out here that mastered that, have the ability to sit up there on a pedestal and say, listen, like I've done this and you can do it too. And rightfully so. Rightfully so. Creating that type of discipline takes a lot of work, and it's not just physical, but it's mostly mental. We all know that. That's what makes it so hard. It's not that it's just that it's not simple to just do these things. Is that there's a voice in our head that's quite literally trying to fight us as we're trying to improve. And that's why I get so frustrated when people make it seem like it's just so easy. Like, yeah, it's so simple. Yes, yes, but it's not easy. And just saying that it's simple without acknowledging the fact that it's not easy to me is incredibly ignorant. Because here's another thing that you need to take into consideration whenever you use that approach to try to convince anyone to create a loving relationship with God or giving it a chance. Um, and I'm talking about people that, yeah, don't have interest in it at all. That are people who are like, okay, you can clearly see that they could benefit from it because you can see that they're in pain. You can see that this would be so helpful for them. But understand how you come at it. And even if it's someone that's already kind of in the mix of it, even then, like, listen, it's not up to us to tell them exactly how to do those things. Whatever needs to be worked on in their soul, that's between God and them. The same way that for me, whatever needs to be healed in my soul, worked on in my character, things that I need to improve and get rid of, between God and I. You can encourage me all day long, but at the end of the day, only God knows what it's really going to take. And it's up to us to encourage you in a positive way, to motivate you, to cheer you on. You gave it a try and you failed. That's okay. Try it again. You try to go to church, but it was a bad church. That's okay. Try mine. Try coming to mine. Just give it another chance. Like just be positive about it. Like telling them like, "Oh, you went to church once and it didn't work out." Well, obviously. Like, you see the difference in approach there? Which one is really going to convince someone to really give it a shot? And another thing to consider is that you don't know, none of us know how deep of a hole someone's in. There's a big difference between dabbling in the world just for entertainment, dabbling with a little bit of, smoking a joint and going to the club to dance a little bit, drink a little bit just to have fun, versus someone doing that because they cannot stand sitting in their room in silence because the voice in their heads is going to overwhelm them with darkness entirely. You don't know that. And you don't know if they're trying to break an addiction. You don't know why that addiction is really driving them to numb themselves. You don't know any of that. So to come at it with such an aggressive approach is really ignorant, I think. Super ignorant. And that's why I say that if you're on this journey and you're a stranger to it, you're a foreigner to it. For example, again, I can only speak from personal experience because for me, I did not grow up in church at all. My family in Panama, they became Christians because of a sad situation that happened in our family, and that motivated them to find God. And they're Pentecostal, like straight up Pentecostal, like no makeup, things like that. And but again, that was in Panama. That's not even like I wasn't there anymore. For us, for my immediate family, we did not grow up going to church. And when you go to Germany, where I grew up, it's not like here. Like I'm in Texas, guys. Texas, there's a church in every corner. Every corner. And everyone here is so open about their faith. So I think here it is it is everywhere. Like it literally is everywhere. And I think that that's also another reason why I'm so maybe concerned with the approach that we're come at. Um, but back to the point that I'm trying to make, that, for example, in Germany, people don't really talk about that. Young people don't really go to church that much. Like it's not really a thing. So if you're a complete stranger to it, you're gonna feel a bit embarrassed. Like, who do you think you are, right? Doing all this, and you're not even gonna really know how to do it. And obviously, you should surround yourself with people that have done it, that are good at it. That's the most obvious answer you would think. But at the same time, I can see how it's not. Because for me, for example, the first thing I did on my journey was not go to church. That's not what I did. I started listening to I started listening to a church online because it was during the pandemic as well. And it's actually Elevation Church. Amazing, amazing, amazing church. You should listen to it. They're on Spotify, they're on YouTube. If you don't know where to start, start there. But again, if it's not your style, try something else, right? Like nowadays, you can literally just look it up, and that's okay. That is okay if that's where you start. Because for me, for example, going to church was not something that I really wanted to do because one, I was doing it on my own. And it takes a lot of courage to go to churches in general, especially when you're by yourself. Like, you don't want to go to a church and like everyone's staring at you, or like you don't really know if this church has the same members that comes every Sunday and they're like, whoa, who's this person in here? Or being called up to the front and made feel awkward. And obviously I can sit here and tell you like, just get over it. It's not a big deal. But it was a big deal for me at the time because I didn't want to do that. I wasn't there yet. And I knew where I was starting. I knew that I wasn't going to just succeed immediately. It was going to take me time. And I didn't want to have eyes on me constantly judging or criticizing what I was doing. And not saying that that was what was going to happen. I'm not saying that, but there was a chance because I'm sure you've met people that are Christian and they say they are Christian, they do everything right by the book, but their heart definitely tells you a different story. And I didn't want to be surrounded by that. I didn't want to allow the chance or give someone the chance like that to ruin what I was trying to do. And I'm very happy I did it that way. Very, very happy because for me, I did it in baby steps. And I really want to talk about that more in a next episode, actually. But today, I just want to keep my focus on what I'm talking about right now. It's about just keeping your eyes on God and don't let other people discourage you from continuing to walk towards God because you're not doing it the perfect way, or you're not following a perfect step-by-step process. It's not that easy for everyone. And you're gonna fail. Like when I started talking, or when I said to myself, you know what, like I'm really gonna do this. Like this is something that I'm going to take seriously. This is going to be my priority. Um, I wasn't just a perfect Christian from one day to the next. I wasn't able to just go to church from one day to the next, or praise God while listening to Christian music, or put on a Christian playlist while I drive instead of listening to my Latin jams that I like to dance to. Like that doesn't happen overnight, and that is okay. The key is to just keep moving forward. And as you go, just set that intention that you are trying to move forward. But if you take 5 steps forward and you take 4 steps back, guess what? You're still one step ahead. And that's all right. And I will tell you that for me, that was the best experience ever because I'm at a point now where I go to church. My boyfriend and I would go to a church. This is a good example as well. Um, the Elevation Church that I listen to, it's not his style. He doesn't like the way that he preaches. Steve Furtick, that's the pastor there, and it's not his style, and that's okay. For me, I love it. I think it's amazing. He speaks right to me, and I feel it in my soul. But we go to a different church that's here locally. We go to a physical building, we walk there because they say it's important to surround yourself with a community. And it is. But again, that's not something that I started doing until earlier this year. Actually, yeah, like almost like about a year. But I started this whole journey 3 years ago. So what, does that make me bad? Does that mean that my relationship with God isn't pure, it doesn't exist? No. But what I'm saying is that, for example, we go to the church and we surround ourselves with a community. But for me, I still kind of struggle with that to till this day, because when I walk into a church, I'm like, who here is truly a good Christian at heart? And who here is pretending to be a Christian but has really an evil heart? And although I don't say that, I'm not saying that that's right, or that um it's okay to that that's the purpose of going to church, but I can't lie to you. That is how I feel, and I can't change that. I have to address it and observe that that's how I'm feeling in order to like move past that and tell myself, you know what, that's not up to me to decide. That's up to God. And the reason I say it is too is because I feel like when I go to church, for example, when I'm physically at church on Sundays or Saturday nights when my boyfriend and I go, we I enjoy it, but that's not the times where I connect with God on the deepest levels. The times I connect with God on my deepest levels is when I've been alone in my apartment, when I've made the decision to stay in instead of going out, when I'm so overwhelmed emotionally and I feel so alone and I don't know where to turn to, that I say, God, like, I'm here and I'm just going to lay it all out for you. And it becomes more of a venting session. And that's when I've connected the most with him. It was when I was alone in my home, and that's how I started to really develop a loving relationship with God. Because let's the way I think about it, and um, this might be a little bit controversial, is that when you go to church, I think that people can hide in a church. It's great that you go to church, but some people go to church just because that's what they've been taught to do. They go to church, they sit there, they listen, then they leave 15 minutes before the pastor's even done speaking to avoid traffic, and go home, and nothing changes. And I'm not saying that that's the experience for everyone. The goal is to go to church at some point. The goal is to have the courage to do that. And there are plenty of wonderful and amazing people that truly love God with good intentions. And again, there's no perfect Christian. So for me to have that expectation on other people is hypocritical. But it makes me wonder, how many people here actually go to God when they're completely broken and they don't have a way out, or they don't know where to go. And it's a valid thought that has crossed my mind. And again, but again, I'm still taking that step to go and show up. Even when I'm working through those insecurities or those thoughts, I'm still showing up. But I can't sit here and lie to you that those things don't cross my mind. And again, that's between God and them. Has nothing to do with me. All I can do is be encouraging and positive. That's my responsibility, to be encouraging and positive, which I struggle with all the time. But again, intentions, right? So, um, yeah, I just want to acknowledge that, because something too that's very important to take notice of is that whenever you decide that you want to take your step with in your faith, further, when you really want to get serious about it, even if it's not perfect right away, even whatever that looks like, whenever you first start, or you're going through this journey, God's going to notice that. God's going to take notice of that you have that intention, that you want to grow closer to him, and he's going to help you. He's going to help you get there. So be kind to yourself along the way. Don't beat yourself up that you're not doing it perfectly, that you haven't figured it all out. It's a process, just like with anything else. Just with starting to go to the gym, the same way you start to eat healthier, the same way you start reading a book every month or every week, whatever. All those disciplines, all those habits that you generate, the same way that it takes discipline to do that, you also need discipline to keep walking in your faith. And it is simple, but it's not easy. It's not easy. So don't feel bad if you don't figure it out immediately or if it takes you longer than it took someone else. God knows what you struggle with. God knows what it's going to take for you to continue to walk in the path He wants you to walk on. And remember that. Another thing, too, is that the same way God takes notice, guess who else takes notice? The enemy is going to take notice. And it's funny because, I always talk about this. My boyfriend's always like, oh my gosh, Rostel, here you go. But it's it's the truth. The enemy is going to take notice that that's the path that you want to go on now. And you think the enemy wants you to get closer to God? No, 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 no. He wants you to stay exactly where you are. He wants to keep you distracted. He wants to keep you unfulfilled. He wants to keep you sad. He wants to keep whispering those things in your ear that are holding you down, keeping you down, what I always say. And that's another level of challenge that you need to overcome. So no, it is not easy. And you have to keep going. Just keep going. Okay? Just keep your eyes set on God. Whatever you struggle with, ask Him to help you in that specific thing. Even you might not even have that intention right away. You might even be struggling because you really don't want to walk away from the things that bring you joy at the time, even if they are wrong. Just keep going. Just keep going. And you're gonna make it. You're gonna make it, and don't let people make you feel bad because you're not doing it according to their standards or what their standard of perfection looks like to be a Christian or to even take that step in your faith. And I just want to serve as an encouragement to you today to just be kind to yourself, be kind to others, keep your eyes set on God. And let me tell you this verse right here, which also helps with the point that I'm trying to make here. So when you go to Matthew 6, um, verse 6, the title is prayer. Okay. And it says, and I'm sure you've heard this before. If not, let me be the first one to introduce you to it. It says, but when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. Okay? And you can keep reading it. It even tells you a specific prayer that you can say if you don't even know where to start. Um, and I'll make sure to write that so that you know where to look it up right here on the screen. But yeah, I just wanted to, I think it was kind of more of like a venting session, but I felt like it was very necessary. So even if only one person listens to this, I feel like it's accomplished the goal that I'm trying to accomplish here. And just remember that you are loved and just keep going. So have a wonderful week and just know that you are loved and you can go to God for anything. All right, girlies, we'll come back next week, okay? Okay, bye.